because I'm also checking. Oh, I think we got something. All right. Let's see. Hey, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to this is the first episode of the We Talking podcast, or We're Talking, depending on how well your grammar is. It doesn't matter, but this is formerly the Mansplaining Show with Jake and Dave. We decided to change that name because, let's face it, it was fucking stupid. It was a joke that I thought that would be really funny, and I kept really trying hard for a couple of years to see if people could look past that name and see the content of what we had to offer. And the answer to that was a resounding hell no. No, they did not. They did not. So,
well, hey.
There, just some folks are just kind of like, nah, I don't think we're up for it, man. You know, it seems kind of toxic. Like, remember, by the way, I'm Dave Germain. I am a podcaster, a stand-up comic out here in Denver, Colorado. My co-host, my friend, my amigo, is Jake Hamill. Say hi, sir.
Oh, hey guys, I live in Phoenix. I used to do stand up in Denver. That's how me and Dave know each other.
Yep.
But we decided we went weird different paths. Like you came to Denver and I left, but I went to your hometown.
Yeah.
It's like imagine if I married your ex-wife's sister.
Yeah, right. You're like, wait, what? Why'd you do that? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many other cities you could have gone to, so many other chicks you could have banged. Like.
But it's like that's just what it is.
Yeah, right.
But like, but no, right. At the moment, I weigh meat for a living, which is pretty funny.
Nice.
Yeah, which is a job. It's just one of those jobs that like when you work it. I don't know if you could you could probably answer this too, also, Dave.
Sure.
When you work at a job long enough, is there some sort of weird drama that's always going to bubble up from somewhere?
Yeah, usually. People get bored, man.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happened now, and it's like, dude, it's one of those jobs where this is just too easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I don't earn my money. I definitely do. I mean, I bust my ass, but like, and at the end of the day, like I'm weighing meat and putting it into boxes, and then going, here you go, take this designated amount of shit and take it to store A. That's all I'm fucking doing. Right. I'm doing math equation jobs. Like Bobby's on a train going, blah, blah, blah.
I can see that. It's like I gave you 3 drop-offs to do, and you took 5 hours to do it, which doesn't make any sense considering that the 3 drop-offs were all with a quarter mile of each other. So at least you're trying to whack off, take a nap between every delivery, and then stop at Jack in the Box also between every delivery. That there's no way it should have taken this long. So I don't know.
Yeah. But like there's people that complain to my job, like, oh, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I'm not a job dick sucker, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not Mr. like, do it for the boss, but
right.
Like, at the same time, when you have a good thing, don't fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about this right now. It's not bad. Like, let's not. I don't know if you probably feel like that way about a job where you're like, this is pretty good, but I get the feeling someone's gonna fuck it up around me.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Sometimes I was that person, but I mean, then in my younger days, definitely. But then after a while, I'm like, you know what? Like there was a lot of issues that was going on with my last job, the one before I had to go on disability and everything. But really, at the end of the day, I'm like, as long as I kept doing what I wanted to do, as far as just the free job, it was very, very easy. I didn't really have to take any responsibility. I was about to take on a shitload of responsibility, but then life said, no, you're not. But I feel like we should back up a little bit. So what our old show used to be about was basically the 22-year-old version, or like we're 2 guys in our 40s, and we're trying to give advice to the 22-year-old versions of ourselves. Because we thought there was a really good thing to do to try to, get some advice, kind of like advice as far as like for guys who didn't grow up with a dad, or maybe that with an absentee dad or whatever, just some time, or even just without an older brother, you know, just an older male figure. But then that fucker Andrew Tate really, really screwed up that whole genre for a lot of us. You know what I mean? Like because he was like, "Hey man, you got to be
Oh my
responsible
God,
for
he's
yourself." Like, yeah, I could agree with that. Hey, dude, you have to freaking you got to be aggressive and you got to learn how to be, you know, stand on your own 2 feet. Hey, I agree with that. Women are your property. Wait, what? Like, no, I don't agree with that at all. Like, and and granted, and this is where me and a couple of my friends or close family members kind of disagree on. I don't believe that you have to agree with somebody 100% at all.
no,
You know,
no.
it's I'm trying to move that down there a little bit. What I hate to put this, man. Nobody is perfect, and not to say that I shouldn't, like, you know, like somewhere somebody's going to be like, so wait, what you're saying is that if Adolf Hitler had a couple of good points, you would still listen to him. Is that what you're saying? I'm like, you're trying to purposely fuck up everything and just to prove that you're right. And so the answer is fuck off. But no, it's I wouldn't listen because there's way more wrong with what that guy is saying than what he's saying right, right? Even if he does say something right. So Andrew Tate and a lot of guys were being super aggro about it. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with being aggressive. I also don't believe that because you could do 10 push-ups that you're an idiot. Which there is a lot. That's one of the, like, we get tribal, right? And this is kind of like we're basically two guys kind of in the middle without a tribe. With slightly different views on things, but we're just talking. We're talking about random shit. We might talk about the some stuff that's personal that's going on in our lives. We might be talking about some world events, maybe some stuff that's going on the state level. We might be talking about advice to younger men for the most part. I've got a couple of thoughts on some shit that I saw this week. The one promise that we will make to you guys, and I'll make this to you right now, is that we promise to limit our bitching about any particular comedy scene to less than 5 minutes per episode. That's that's my promise to you, because let's be honest, man, there was a lot a lot of bitching on our last show, and I know a lot of that came from me. I'll just speak for myself, and it really, it wasn't useful, it wasn't productive at all. You know,
No, it was fun. I was doing it too, but I was mostly doing it in like as a whole, like I like the old man yells at cloud type of shit.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. If he's not yelling at the
Yeah,
cloud, he's talking about
yeah.
how much he hates Buckley.
Well,
Sorry,
yeah. I mean, it's just,
inside joke, but
I mean, yeah, you know, yeah. Well, it's not. I mean, it's a terrible inside joke. Everyone knows what it is.
yeah, exactly. They're like, oh shit,
um,
here he goes. And it's like mentioning Tower 7 to Eddie Bravo on the JRE. He just don't do it
yeah.
because you're gonna go off and like, don't mention the B word.
Okay, so no, I'll say this. This is actually not, this is a thing that I came to, that I kind of had an epiphany on because of a conversation I had
Mm-hmm.
with another Denver comic, a buddy of mine named Ben Adams.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Kansas City now. He's been there for a while. Him and his girl lives there, and he was like, we were talking about comedy, and I'm like, do you go out all? And he was like, I try, but I got this other thing I'm doing, and I'm kind of like really working at that, so I don't really have time. And I'm like, me too, but I'm not. It's like he's doing some fucking real cool shit. I'm weighing meat.
Right.
But I'm doing well. I'm like, as far as financially, I'm feeling all right. But he goes, where I was talking about comedy, and I'm just telling him Phoenix, I'm like, you know. And he goes, you know what, man, we didn't realize how spoiled we had it in Denver.
Yeah.
And we were spoiled. I mean, it really were. I mean, as much as you can complain about the fucking place, it did run kind of like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, from time to time, certain people, I don't know, maybe a lady named Emily might show up and really throw a fucking wrench in the works.
Yeah, we can't mention that name more than 3 times per episode, because otherwise she shows up at a mic and decides to start being problematic, or calling everybody else problematic and stuff because nobody thinks her shit's funny.
Those years were fucking weird. But I was in a weird headspace too, because I was convinced I'm gonna die soon, so I didn't give a fuck.
Right.
And I just stopped caring, but I stopped caring in bad ways too. So it was like it wasn't a cool thing. It was kind of sucked. But no, man, I just you know, it's Denver's a great place to do this shit. Honestly, I mean, as much as bullshit that you might run into on a daily basis on a micro level, on a macro level, it's a hell of a place to do stand up.
Oh, totally, man.
Yeah. So I'm not saying like I didn't know what I had, but I would just say that like I did what I could with it. I'm at peace with it, honestly, and I have been for I don't know, about a year or so. Probably less than that, but I'm at peace with it.
Nice.
I had fun. It was great. I did some cool ass shit. Met some cool fucking people. Like I got to do things I never thought. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to do half the shit if I stayed in like New England.
Yeah, that would have been tough, man. I wouldn't been able to get.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm way better at stand-up because I've had a lot more stage time than I ever would have got in Phoenix. You know what I mean? It's possible on certain nights of the week, guys. If there's any comedians out there outside of the Denver scene, like, oh, what's so special about the Denver scene? Well, not everybody's a dick, which is good. On top of that, it's a small city, and there's multiple mics going on throughout almost every evening, so you could easily hit 1 to 3 mics a night. And on top of that, the way the Colorado was set up with I-25, there's different scenes and different kind of audiences to work your shit out between Colorado Springs, Denver, Fort Collins, and Boulder. I'm not even including all the other small towns around there. But you could really, really stretch out a lot of your material and learn and learn probably quicker than you could in other scenes. So, that's some good shit.
Not to mention, I mean, there was a time you were around. We were just starting to get kind of into our shit. When remember there was like on Wednesdays for like it was for like 6 months. Wasn't very long, but for like 6-7 months, you were able to hit 6 mics on a Wednesday night.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? That's what I'm saying. Like no other, like dude, but like it wasn't like there was 6 mics and that was it. They were done in a way where you could hit every single one because they were staggered out. And that's one thing I kind of appreciated that I didn't appreciate there when I was in it, but now that I'm out of it, I kind of was like, wow, there are people in that scene who do talk to each other and communicate and go, yo, I'm going to do this spot, I'm going to do, and they respect other shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, but as a whole, like you're not going to have back when like Kingers was a thing, if you had a Sunday open mic at that same time, it was kind of shitty. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. We got it.
The only reason I would say that you go like, listen, I'm doing the same one, but like if that one particular mic that's going on has like 40 comics that all sign up by 6 o'clock, I'm like, all right, dude, there's definitely space to have another mic around that same time. You know what I mean? Because even if you had 20 comics, if you split that thing in half, it's still a long evening. You know what I mean? And on top of that, I think Denver is like, hey man, I want to have a mic at on Tuesday as well. It's like, well, my mic starts at 6. It's like, all right, then I'll start mine at 6:30 or at 5:30. Or whatever, but you'll just stagger it so that way if somebody's trying to hit about both, they'll say it at the beginning of the mic. You get them up early, get them out of there, and then they end up spending the rest of their evening at the other shit. But yeah, it's just being, considerate and thinking about the scene instead of thinking about your place in any particular scene and how well you're respected. You know what I mean? Which is a thing that a lot, like that's just human beings get sucked into. When you start getting a little bit of notoriety and you're like, hey, wait a second, man, how can, I want to be respected. I want to be this way. How dare they put their mic or whatever, their show on the same time as mine? That's it. This is war. We're going to go fucking full mafia on this and start fucking beating people up. I'm like, what? No. This is just, it's showbiz, but it's not showbiz. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's fucking weird shit. But,
there is an ecosystem to it. Like it or not, there are, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been through a few waves of it. I went through like 2 or 3, I think 3. Actually, I got there with Ben Roaring and all those guys just before they got on TV and all that stuff. Like we're talking like a year.
Right.
Like if you were able to ever see them at the Bug Theater back then, dude, it was wild. Dude.
And they're turning it out again, man. They're doing pretty well with it. They brought that back.
Good because like back when I started being on the Deer Pile, the Sam Talent show that he had, the Sam, if you got on that, fuck, dude, that locally that was big.
Yeah.
But if you got on the Growlix show, fuck, dude, you'd be fucking riding high for like about a year.
Yeah.
You could use that because a lot of people there would be like, oh, the Growlix, what have you done? Actually, kind of. You're like, all right, it's like what an argument or something. They'll drop that little fucking tidbit or something.
Yeah, that's like almost like, but there's a reason why I have never fucking told anybody about my IMDb credit or the fact
Yeah.
that I actually, you know, whatever is my one TV credit that I have or my off Broadway credit or whatever. But because I felt it was kind of douchey, and on top of that, that shit was so long ago. It's kind of like, you know what I did fucking 25 years ago? Like, what have you done lately? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I didn't want to be that guy. Same reason why I took off my fucking beanie, because I didn't want to look like I was trying to be Tim Pool. So starting
Oh, yeah.
off, I'm like, the race war is upon us. We're all doomed. You know, I'm like, all right, Tim.
That, that, he got sucked into that whole Eliza Blue shit. You heard about that, right?
No. What happened?
Oh, so apparently Eliza Blue is basically, I mean, allegedly like a fraud.
I don't know who that is. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I really got to rewind. All right, she was one of these people that was going around saying that she was a human traffic survivor or something like that. She survived human trafficking.
okay.
She was human trafficked. And then like she would do all these podcasts, right, where she's like an advocate, right? And then like she would give all these dates of when this all happened. And then the problem was when you tell the same lie over and over again, you kind of fuck up sometimes because you know it's not the truth, so it's not buried in your memory. So like she's fucking up dates. She's saying on one podcast it happened at this time when it happened at that time, and then on one podcast she's like it happened during this, and then they show her actually shooting a rap video. So like all of this makes no sense. It just sounds like somebody who's taking advantage of a problem to make money off of, like a grifter. She's grifting.
Right.
And but she's like got that cam girl energy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she's been fucking around with that dude Ian, I guess. That guy Ian from the fucking show.
Ian, is that from Tim's show or?
Yeah, from Tim's show. Yeah, there's like video of him and that dude, that other guy, hanging out with her, like flirting around and playing guitar and being all stoned.
Right.
So it's obviously a conflict of interest, and you know who knows what else happened. But like Tim did not want to address it, and for the longest time, and everyone's like, "Yo, dude, this is like a thing you started. Like you gotta, come on, man." And he just avoided it, and then he finally addressed it, and it's like, because this chick is just a scammer, dude. She's a scammer, pretty much, allegedly.
Okay.
Knock on wood. I don't know. Whatever I have to say to not get sued, that is what I want to say.
Fair enough.
But yeah, she's like all Twitter and stuff. It's crazy. And then she got outed, and it's been a shit show. But like Tim's taking a hit. Tim lost like 20 or 30,000 fucking subscribers.
Really? Because he didn't want to address it?
Yeah, people were just jumping shit. But I mean, granted, he's got like millions, so it was a slight dent in the machine, but it didn't bring it down.
Well, you know, the thing is, what's kind of important is that you're when it comes to independent journalists, which we are not, we're independent shit talkers. There's a difference. Is that if your word is really important, which is a really, really good thing to see kind of come back or not go away completely as far as society is concerned. Meaning that, because it seems like for a while, when the internet is brand new and everybody had this anonymity, they're like, hey, I could finally tell Russell Crowe to fuck off like I always wanted to without worried about him punching me in the face. Hey, tick, 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 tick. And they would just do that, right? And everybody's like, man, fucking like honesty in your word, what does that mean to these young kids? And I'm like, well, if you're a journalist, it's meaning a whole lot. So it's kind of like freaking the corporate news. Granted, they're not going to learn this lesson anyways, but every time that they make up some shit where that's obviously like all it takes is a cursory Google search to find out whether it's true or false, and they find out you've been lying, you know, like prime example is when they were showing that video, the Instagram video that Rogan made when he got COVID. And when they started showing it, they changed the filter on it, made him look like he was way sicker, changed the, like they fucked with it. It was fuckery. And like that was some Fox News and George W.'s fucking time bullshit that they were doing. And it was just like a lot of folks were kind of like, oh man, I mean, granted, there's people who still believe everything they hear about Rogan. But, and I will admit that I am a fan, guys. I'm a fucking stand-up comic, and I'm also a dude who could do a push-up. So fucking, you know, whatever. Most of the comics who hate that guy probably can't. So, but I mean, the whole thing, the thing is, there's some people that still listen, but everybody else is kind of like, if you really, really are interested, there's only thousands upon thousands of hours of conversations that's recorded and up for anybody to listen to if you really want to find out what this dude is all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when he fucks up, you could still check out everything and find out for yourself. But yeah, it's some of but yeah, if it comes to like, yeah, Tim probably should have fucking addressed it and be like, hey man, or at least had his friend and say, hey, this is what's going on. I know that she's your girl. You don't want to you're not trying to fuck her over, but you got to tell, I mean, for the sake of your own integrity, buddy, what's going on? Was she that amazing? Is that it? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I mean, who knows? She does. I mean, fucking dude, guys do weird shit, man. You fucking like, you know how to get that thing going just right, or like a way that this person's never been before. Dude,
Yeah.
they'll bend to your will. Trust me, I've been one of those dudes.
Dude, I've been on both sides of that. There was this one girl that I knew long, long time ago. This is way back in New York City. That it was kind of spooky in the fact that if I wanted something from her, all I had to do was just flirt just a little bit, and she was down. Maybe because I was her favorite distraction of that particular week. Who knows? It's not like we were serious or anything. But it was really strange where I'm like, I never had that experience where all I had to do was just freaking look at somebody, and smile and be like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, oh my God. And she would do whatever, she wanted to she could to make me happy, which is a scary situation to be in on both sides of that. Because I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is good. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've done that. I've been that fucking sad puppy dog, following a girl around. Just hoping to get any type of attention whatsoever, and I'm like, by the way, that's not a good look, and I hate using that phrase, but it's let's be honest.
That's true. No, but like we were saying about the whole, like, take what happened with, for some reason, man, the fucking I had a high thought this morning.
Okay.
Watching his action in the afternoon, early afternoon. So I think the reason why there's a lot of conspiracy theories is because if you kind of look back at our recent history, we're talking past 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of one time where somebody in elite status in in America ever really went to jail for doing anything.
Yeah.
That was bad. It's never happened.
Yeah.
Nobody from the '08 crash went to jail. Nobody from the Bush administration went to jail for war crimes.
Mm-hmm.
No, fucking, you say what you want about Trump. There's probably people on Trump's thing. I don't know. Probably something with Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this stuff that you can say that like why is Hunter Biden able to fucking falsely buy a gun, lie on the form,
Mm-hmm.
get the gun, and then throw it in a dumpster and run away? He committed so many crimes and then nothing happens to him.
Yeah.
Like how come certain things happen where so many people get fucked over, and the only thing that happens is like they get a big fine, but like they can make that money back in like literally 3 days. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, we find the $500 million. Like, well, they make that in like a month and a half. So you didn't really do anything.
Because we as people, we get sucked into stupid shit.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. I'm a fairly intelligent person, and I've believed some stupid shit, some crystal woo-woo shit in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because and I'm not shitting on religion, but maybe it's because I grew up a particular religion that I'm like, oh yeah, if I believe that somebody is an honest person, why wouldn't I believe everything that comes out of their mouth? Like I've been that guy as well, but
it's the fact that, and also that they've never leveled with us about anything.
Yeah.
They've never been truthful about so many things in American history. You can look back and go, that's bullshit. That's also bullshit. This is also bullshit. This is the bullshit reasons. They're not being completely honest about what happened here.
Yeah.
Now you can say that about so many things. It's not just like, it ain't just JFK. It ain't just this. It's not just that. It's not just like, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff. They've never been straight with us. So like when they try to be straight with us, we don't buy it anymore.
Yeah.
We're fucking over it. If we're not conspiracy theorists, we know you're full of shit. We're just done with it.
Right.
You're the cousin that's always asking for $5 and swears he's always going to pay you back, and he never does. And now we're like, no, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you $5 anymore. Go fuck off.
Right.
And they're like, oh, so you conspire with people to think that I'm lying. No, it's because you've literally given me nothing back. You're just been full of shit the whole fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And you expect me to just buy it. It's like, what the fuck? And you don't even earn it back.
Mm-hmm.
You try and shame me back into it. by making me look like I wear a tinfoil hat and all this shit. I'm not even, dude, on the level of conspiracy theorist person, I am literally like on the novice level.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that I know. I did a show with a guy, for fuck's sakes, who was like, he thinks we're in a simulation and shit. Like, that's what level he's on. You know what I'm saying? He's on, like, all Madden with that shit.
I think there's a certain point that everybody just kind of, they get tired of it. They just tap out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that's what I think. We're just like, I just stopped giving a shit. You know, like.
But with the Ohio, I mean, I was at that point, but like with the Ohio thing that happened, like the train derailment thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard about that, right?
Well, I heard that about the trail derailment, but I haven't heard anything else other than that. Heard something about Buttigieg being getting in trouble for something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, he was while that's going on. It's basically, dude, it's like they're saying it's like Chernobyl level devastation.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, not nuclear wise, but like all those chemicals are gonna fuck up the whole water table, and nothing's gonna be able to fucking live there for like fucking 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was saying, he was making a point about how there's not enough black construction workers. Mm. And I'm like, yo, man, this is like 87 and shit we got to worry about, bro. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's probably not a problem. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying this is not. It's like worrying about a dent in your car while your house is on fire. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You're out of your fucking. Like, there's literally a whole fucking part of Eastern Ohio that is turned into the hills have eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There is a literal chemical fallout cloud over an entire region of this country.
Right. And
we are not even mentioning it. We're lying about it. We're telling these people to go back to their homes. When even Aaron Brockovich is like, yo, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's back because this is her wheelhouse.
Oh, really? Yeah, because that's what happened. It was actually in the high desert, I think, somewhere out there in Cali. We're kind of close to where I grew up, I think.
Yeah, there were people getting cancers and shit. Yeah, it's because they were PP&E or PP&G or what the fuck they're called, the power company out in California.
Yeah.
Which is fucking poisoning motherfuckers. But like, dude, it's just like, we're just going to ignore this shit. Mm-hmm. It's just, you know, and then they burn it on purpose. They burned it on purpose because they were afraid it was going to explode. Mm. So they're like, let's burn it so it doesn't explode. And then it made this huge fucking mushroom cloud of just acid rain.
Jeez.
And we're just like, oopsie. But it's like, you know, it's in a super poor rural part of like Appalachia, fucking Ohio and Pennsylvania. Mm. So no one gives a fuck, you know, and it's, you know, and they're making it obvious that they don't give a fuck. And it's like, wow, like we're doing this now? This is what we're doing? All right. Like,
in all fairness, you could be happy that they're finally being honest about how they feel. You know?
Yeah, like, I mean, but the thing is, I don't think it's really even, I mean, I don't know. It might be political because I think the governor of Ohio is a Republican. Mm. You know, they're like arresting reporters at press conferences who try to ask questions.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like brought the guy to the ground, cuffed him, walked him to the fucking cruiser. He spent like the weekend in jail because he did it on a Friday and couldn't get out till fucking Monday.
Wow.
So he spent the weekend in jail over just asking a fucking question. You know, shit like that. Like, how do you see shit like that and go, wow, what the fuck's going on here? How does anyone look at that and go, oh, that's normal. That's totally fine. You're just arresting a journalist. That's totally cool. You know what I mean?
I think it might goes back a little bit to our tribalism. Like, we've had that conversation before, like during George W.'s time, and him and Cheney are just stomping all over the Bill of Rights. And, you know, fuck you, the first, you know, fuck the amendments and stuff like that. Oh, you want to protest? Okay, you can protest 2 miles away inside of a cage, far away from where anything is going to be happening, or the protest zone, which I don't know if you guys remember that, but look it up. It was just basically like, you got to be kidding me. Just these guys are just stomping all over everything. And then when Bush gets out of office, tosses the keys to this fucking machine over to Obama, then suddenly, and I'll include myself in this, I'm like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that anymore. Because it was our guy that was in there, like, oh, yeah. And so, like, every time when that would happen, just go back and forth. It's like, if you're going to support your guy more than the country that you live in, I guess, then
Yeah.
eventually at some point that's gonna bite you in the ass. Because like, you know, people did it with Obama. I'm like, yeah, how many innocent people got drone striked and stuff, and like, oh man, you don't understand how this is going. Then Trump does the same thing. I'm like, oh, that guy's he's the next Hitler. He's this, he's that. You know what I mean? And so now Biden's in. Now everybody switched back again. I'm like, and after a while, everybody just gets tired of it. I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like a family member, we were talking about Kathy Griffin, right?
Yeah.
And how she said that Trump friggin' ruined her career, and
No.
which didn't make any sense to anybody who actually does comedy, because I'm like, there's always going to be a theater that will take a celebrity that's been on TV to do a show. You know what I mean? So even if you're charging $20 a ticket, and you could sell out, she could definitely still sell out like 500 seaters or 1,000-seat theaters and stuff like that, because she has a big enough fan base that she could still do that. The thing is, she hadn't been working the road in quite some time. And now suddenly it's just kind of like, now, you know, maybe because, and all truth be told, maybe there was a lot of people saying a lot of hateful shit, which I'm sure there was. So maybe she didn't want to go out of her house. That could have been it too. You know what I mean? But the whole thing was, it was the difference between the narrative that my friend had been listening to versus what I know, because that's kind of in our wheelhouse. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, no. Trump doesn't have the ability, even if he was a president, to go to a theater who fucking needs money and say, hey, I don't want you to make money this weekend. And they'll be like, yeah, okay, no, absolutely. They're not going to do that. That's not how show business works. But the thing is that me and my friend were at an impasse because he didn't want to believe what, you know, things from my point of view. You know, I don't know. It was just different. It was a point like, no, dude, that doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, it didn't fit the narrative that he'd been listening to. That's a better way to put it. So, you know, that conversation wasn't going to go anywhere anymore. So I don't know if it's just like a targeted apathy that we need, where I'm like, dude, just stop giving a shit. But
but like, also when somebody tells you something new, you gotta at least go, really, and then dig into it a little bit, and then if it seems like it's going somewhere, you're like, oh fuck, this could, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Nobody does that anymore.
It's tough. Dude, it's tough.
Yeah.
The same friend that I'm talking about, right? He's throwing some different information in me that I had never heard before. And sometimes it's really, really tough to be like, shit, maybe I'm not right on this. Maybe I'm, you know, like the Fonz, like, because he can never say that he was wrong. But I don't know. I've been around long enough to know that if I feel like really, really strong on a particular subject, there's a really good chance that I'm way off on that subject.
Yeah.
You know, just because I know me. There's a lot of times I've fucking gone to bat for something that I've really believed. Like, I learned a long time ago to really, really not express myself from a place of emotion when it comes to social media. Because because there's a lot of things that they're trying to, basically, they want to elicit an emotional response from you. Because nobody's gonna like, oh, that was a really well thought out, you know, thing that you said. Nah, they're not gonna. I don't know. It's just
Here's how you got to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when you're going through your timeline, you have to realize, no. This is a trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
This is a trap. I'm gonna keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing this, because you know it's a no-win. You got to be able to recognize that when you realize that something. Dude, some Young Turks in my timeline, and I'm like, this is not a thing.
Yeah.
This has to go, and I'll block them because I don't want to see it.
Right.
I don't want to see shit like that. So if I start talking to them, then I'm fucked. So just it ruins your day. So just keep on keeping on, I guess.
Right. Like there's something going on in Scotland right now, just because there's a couple of people that I follow on my Twitter feed that are from the UK. And so things get retweeted and stuff. I'm like, man, there was that. And then I guess there was some dude or some comedian guy in Hollywood that passed away from that scene. He wasn't famous or anything like that. But then somebody wrote like kind of a snarky tweet, you know, because apparently the person wasn't 100% on board with the trans movement. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe he was a really evil person. I don't know. But the whole thing is a comic that I know is like, basically to the extent is like, it's not brave to freaking shout out somebody after they're already dead, and you don't have to worry about any repercussions, which is kind of a bitch move. And gosh, what was it? It reminds me. Okay, so this is kind of a little rant here. Have you seen Mark Maron's new special on HBO Max?
No.
Okay. And I will say this, that while I am a big Rogan fan, I am also a Mark Maron fan. Not as much as I was after I've watched the special, but, more so before I watched it. And the reason why I was kind of disappointed, because he kind of did something similar to what Patton Oswalt did in his last special. Right?
Oh, no. Okay.
To the extent where Patton Oswalt brings up Joe Rogan and then pauses for just a half a second, and then everybody starts booing. And he's like, no, wait a minute. And then he kind of sticks up for Joe. He's like, no, Joe's my friend. Like, I've known him for a long. He's the sweetest guy. But he's then kind of goes on to his bit. And I'm like, dude, I know that you fucking did that to get that particular response. Like, that's kind of a shit thing to do. And on top of that, when everybody was shitting on that dude for apologizing for taking a picture with Dave Chappelle, which, if I could say this to any young guys out there, man, like, either you stick with your friends or you don't. Sometimes, I mean, if there's a gray area in there, it's a very small one. And I don't know, I just thought that was like, it just showed some folks probably thought that he's like, oh no, he's willing to stick up for what he believes in and go against even his own friends and stuff in order to do it. They might look at it that way. Other people looked at it. I'm like, dude, you're going to turn on your own friends that you've known for how many decades? You know, for people who don't know you, you know what I mean? So,
in fact, I'll put a little caveat on that.
Mm-hmm.
When Dave Chappelle did his first HBO half hour, the very first one, they did it in clusters with like these group of comics,
mm-hmm.
right? 6 dudes, and it was like they all hung out, and it was like the intro was all of them at a dinner table hanging out, shooting the shit, eating food, and they each got a fucking, I think either an hour or a half hour special, but every special was you would enter at that dinner table with them talking or whatever. It was him, it was Patton Oswalt and Dave Chappelle on that same bill. So they've known each other for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. All those guys, the DC guys and the friggin' New York guys all knew each other. If they started comedy in the late 80s or early 90s and stuff, they all fucking knew each other. That's just how things go, you know. But no, even when that happened, even Rogan said on this podcast, he's like, hey, when somebody was about to start shitting on Oswald, and he was like, man, he's a very nice guy and he's a very sensitive dude. And I think that he thought that he was doing the right thing. And the whole point is Rogan wasn't shitting on him, and he definitely could have. You know what I mean? And when I heard when Patton was plugging a special on WTF, they were kind of talking about that stuff too, but it's kind of sour grapes. It's almost to like a lot of us are social misfits for the most part, right? And I forgot the dude's name. He was from Boston, and he worked in a veterinary clinic. He was out here he was in the comedy scene between 2013 and maybe 2015 out here. I think he was from Boston. He was a really tall guy, skinny, really attractive, kind of looked like a model.
Fuck, man, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, okay. So either way, he's a very attractive dude. I can't remember, but he was way hotter than any of the other freaking male comics that are at that mic. Because there's these guys that basically look at how I put it, like, it looks like they basically pulled at least 2 pieces of the wardrobe out of the hamper before they went out. It's kind of like it's a broken boyfriend starter kit. That's what they look like. That's what most of us comics look like when we're out there. Like, hey, I've got issues. Would you want to try to fix me? I'm not going to make it easy, you know. But they kind of had that look. He did it. He actually dressed really nice. Had really nice hair, was in shape. Like he was a very attractive dude. There was a certain extent around other comics, maybe there was just myself, where I'm like, you're really, really hot. Why are you trying to do this? Why are you trying to be funny? Like, this is the only thing that we have, is that we could be funny. And you're trying to be really, really hot and funny? Fuck you, you know? So that's what it kind of seemed like with Marin and Oswald talking about Rogan, that they're just kind of they're just kind of bitter to a certain extent, which doesn't make any sense because all three of those guys are really really smart and are really clever in what they
Yeah,
do.
that's kind of where, like, that's where I kind of feel bad for them that they don't see that.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, I want to shit on them too because I've always liked Patton, but like there's always like a smugness to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And also with Mark Maron, he's always been kind of neurotic.
Very.
Yeah. That's like his thing. From what I remember from watching his show. It's also, I mean, because I've been aware of him for a very long time. But like, you gotta also put that in the equation. But at the same time, like, dude, how many listeners does fucking WTF get? Still a lot. He probably makes good money on it. Like, he lives a comfortable life off of doing something that he loves.
Yeah, and consistently is working and stuff, and you know, okay. I was thinking about this last night because I was really pissed. Basically, I know this is a long way to get to this point, but Marin he has like a small bit where he is not directly shitting on Rogan, but he's shitting on the type of people that listen to Rogan and mentioning things that Rogan would have talked about on his podcast, but in a really, really crazy, it's funny way. And I would never say that Marin's not funny because he is. He's really, really clever. I really enjoy his writing and most of his stuff. And the whole special wasn't bad. But there was just this part where when I was listening to it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm offended because I'm a fan of Rogan and that podcast, but like it just seemed really, really disappointing. It seemed like if we were all at a bar and I'm talking a lot of shit to some dude who's way bigger than me, and then I'm like, yeah, well, Jake is going to kick your ass, right, Jake? And you're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, one, you're like, why are you putting me in this situation? But two, it's like, I did not think you were that kind of weakling, Dave. Why would you do that? That's not what it, and that's kind of what that bit seemed like to me. It seemed like it was weakness. Where I'm like, this sounds like bitter grapes, dude. And I feel bad because was everybody around you going like, yes, that's absolutely great. We 100% agree with that. Or was there any comics around you that have been like, hey man, you're shitting on somebody way more on a whole crowd of people. And it's not as, I don't know, to me it wasn't as funny. If it was really, really fucking hilarious, I would have laughed and be like, okay, I don't agree with that. Like in Patton Oswalt's last special, there was shit that I did not agree with at all, but it was funny. And he can't deny it was funny. You know what I mean? And I was just like, man, I don't know, maybe you need some more friends, dude. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe,
or don't have to. I don't know. The fact that you're being kind of held hostage by your fandom is kind of fucking nuts.
That's a good thing. We never have to worry about that. So
that's right. No one ever liked any of my shit. Don't worry about it.
We go out of our way to make sure that we do not have a fan base. So you're welcome.
Yeah,
that's how we maintain the integrity of this show.
Yeah. No, but no, man, it sucks. It sucks. I'm not even really mad about it. I'm not like a fuck him or fuck the other person.
Yeah.
It makes me sad because it's like these guys are doing very well.
Yeah.
Like, these guys like Patton Oswalt could sell out the Paramount in fucking Denver in the blink of an eye.
Oh yeah.
Like he could do so many. Like there are so many things he could do, and yet he just can't. Like he can't stop himself from shitting on Rogan. Like if it's a work, if he's doing this like a wrestling work where he's talking shit about him,
yeah,
like a fucking radio station war, like back in the day, like one station would start talking shit, try and get the bigger one's attention, just to get on the radar to kind of latch into their success, and then
right.
If it's that shit, then whatever, that's what it is. It's he's just being weird. But like if he honestly feels this way, it bums me out. I'm not saying he's not allowed to feel that way. And I don't see why he should. That's why I don't get.
I was thinking about this too because I'm like, maybe there's something I'm not seeing here, Dave. And I think, granted, neither of us have been in the business or even come close to the success and put in the time and effort that either Marin or Patton Oswalt have put in there. Like, there's a reason why those guys are professionals, and we're semi-professional. However, I'm like, if I was in one of those guys in their shoes that's been around for a long time, that here comes this dude, this attractive guy, who's he's more of a very much of a jock because he works out all the time, right? He's very much like a broy dude. Doesn't come off, even though he is a really smart guy. He doesn't sound or talk like a super smart guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's something that like uh, guys who kind of look a little bit more cavemanish than others. You know, you kind of learn a long time ago that you don't have to be smarter than everybody. You just have to be a little bit smarter than what people think you are. And he comes out to Hollywood. First of all, he gets a manager 2 years into doing stand up, which is very freaking rare, right? The guy he's been with his whole career. He gets a pilot and makes it for a show that only lasts 6 seasons, the Hardball show that was out on Fox and everything. And then the next audition that he goes after that is news radio, which he gets, and he goes to fucking prime time on NBC, right? And like he's getting spots and stuff, and he's still working the clubs, even though at that point he hadn't put in nearly as much time as the other guys did. You know what I mean? So I could kind of see the resentment over like, why does this fucking meathead fucking skip past everybody? You know, or why is he getting that spot and I'm not? So there might have been some of that's kind of in there a little bit where I'm like, man, I've worked on this really, you know, these bits and these intellectual bits for a long time, and I've got my all the emotional work and everything, the wordplay is just right. And this dude who basically shoots elks with a bow and arrow comes along and fucking gets like way bigger numbers. You know what I mean? So I can kind of understand that resentment in that respect. You know,
Yeah.
if I compound that over years with a bunch of freaking neuroticism and stuff, I'd probably get to the point where everything this dude said pisses me off. You know, and I'm like, yeah, I could see myself doing something like that. But either way, it was disappointing. But that being said, I will say that Marin Specialty goes into a lot about his girlfriend passing away because of COVID or during COVID or what's going on, and it's sad, you know.
Yeah.
But you could tell he put a lot of work into those bits and stuff. And like I said, I'm still a Marin fan, but it was
Yeah.
just that particular bit I found really disappointing. But don't take my word for it, guys. Go freaking watch it. I do have a rant that I do want to say about another show that's also on HBO Max. And I'm actually, when is okay, because I'm going to clip this up and put it out on its own here. I'm going to say something in defense of Velma on HBO.
Oh, you want to play good guy, bad guy with this? No, I could do this all day. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So,
okay.
For those of you, by the way, guys, if you say Velma, if you put a YouTube search and say Velma, so you're going to find a bunch of dudes who look a lot like us, and they're just going to be shitting on it, and you can tell after you listen to basically 30 seconds of one of these videos, and you have a good idea of what it's going to be like, you know. Do you ever watch that or ever seen that channel, The Quartering?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's like a human bobblehead. It gets to the point, 15 seconds, and anything that he's talking about, I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's just, and they're going to try to do this, and they're like, you know, and I'm like, God damn it. You give not only men, but nerds a bad name because it just sounds like it's all bitterness. So I will say that I heard some rumblings when that show, before it was coming out, that some of the previews weren't all that great. I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, what the hell is this shit? Because it seemed like it was so super on the left that it's like, the way I would describe those first 2 episodes was that if I didn't know any conservatives at all, I probably would think this stuff was funny. But the thing is, I do know people who are conservative and who are friends of mine, even though I consider myself a reasonably progressive guy. I was talking to my cousin about this, and I mentioned, like, I remember when I was a kid, and this is the danger of racial jokes, guys, is that I remember the first time I heard Polish jokes, right? When you're a kid, they're hilarious. But the thing is that as a kid, like an 8 or 9-year-old, when I discovered these jokes, and when I did meet somebody who was Polish, I was making jokes that they were a fucking idiot. You know, not like I was like, you're a moron because you're a Polak. It wasn't that, but that was the butt of the Polish people or Polacks were the butt of all those jokes. And I remember I said this to a guy, like we were at a store or something like that. And my dad got really pissed at me I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, those jokes are just jokes. That doesn't mean that every Polish person is an idiot, Dave. You don't talk to him like that. That's wrong. And I'm like, okay. I thought I was just going along with what everybody else was doing, and I was. And guess what? I was wrong on that. That was one of the dangers about some of these jokes, is that if you don't know anybody who's Polish, you might believe that everybody from Poland is a moron. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking, the same thing, where I'm like, these jokes seems like somebody who doesn't spend any time around anybody who has a different opinion of them. And I'm like, that might be funny if I didn't know those, like, that's not what all those folks are like. Now, that was my initial impression of it. And once again, like, we're talking about emotional responses, right? And I was like, internet, no. I'm going to stay away from the keyboard. I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to wait and everything. And I watched the whole series. So I will say that, right? As the storyline of the series goes along, and you're like, oh, okay, it's less of the left is awesome, right is stupid jokes, right? And there's a reason why a lot of people, like everybody, hated this show. It wasn't just conservatives. There was a lot of liberals too. As I'm watching the show, she is espousing like a hard left liberal ideology, but the character of Velma is such a flawed piece of shit person that I think a lot of people miss the joke, or the intended joke of that she is a very, very selfish, freaking mean person and uncaring to a lot of her friends, but yet she's talking like she wants to be this really good person, even though she isn't. That's where the humor is in it. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people on the left really, really started hating the show, because they're like, wait a second, she's kind of a bad guy, but she's saying the things that wait a second, is she making fun of those things? And this show was almost like a big troll to a lot of different people, but I don't think that was saying that is like shooting an arrow against a wall and then painting a bullseye around wherever it landed and being like, yeah, that's exactly what I intended to do.
Yeah. That's actually, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the analogy of the shooting an arrow, and painting a bullseye around it, I think that's what's happening. I don't think she intended for any of this. I honestly think this is like some sort of weird projection that she has with this is her personality.
Yeah, and it's basically the character of Velma is basically Mindy Kaling. And if you've watched any of her stuff before, that that's kind of the crux of a lot of her bits, is that she's a very selfish person, but she's oblivious about it. And she has no idea. Like, yeah, she does a lot of mean shit, but she's not doing it out of hatred. She's just that completely, blind to her own actions. And that's the basis of a lot of comedic characters, right? And really, when I was thinking down, folks are like, they need to cancel this or whatever. This is bullshit. And I'm like, even though I think that it was a failed attempt on this style of writing, but I'm like, all right, David, if you're going to be a comedian and you're going to try to defend free speech and stuff, ask yourself this question. Were they trying to make people laugh? Yes, I believe they were.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. It just wasn't as funny as the way that they thought that it was going to be. That's what I think. And
the way
so I'm sorry, I'll just say this last thing. Like, for a lot of for a lot of the guys that made videos about how much they hated this show, like, I understand it if you only watched the first 2 episodes and you were like, fuck, but as if you could see, like, the as the series goes on, you can kind of start seeing more of what they were trying to do, and I'm like, yeah, I see what they were trying, what they were going for. It just didn't work, right? I'm like, but if you're a comedian, if something like, dude, if they were trying to make people laugh, you kind of have to go, how many times have we told a joke that doesn't land, where we, and, it just happens. It's part of the process, but that's, it just, like I said, it just didn't work for those guys. So, I would say to a lot of the internet haters out there, fucking take a break. This is how we make comedy. Sometimes you put something out there that you really believe in, and then it turns out that a lot of people really, really didn't appreciate it. So you got to go back to the drawing board and keep trying and keep trying. You know what I mean? So I thought it was interesting what they were trying to do, So I'll give them points for that. I think there was something I kept hearing from a couple different guys where it's like it seems like some of the writers really hate themselves, and there's like a kind of a masochistic style of humor in this, and I'm like, yeah, I'd agree with that. But you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I don't know. There was in a slightly related subject. Um, oh yeah, like I told you about that guy, the whole thing on Twitter, um, where somebody's like, yeah, you know, you're calling out somebody who's already dead. You know, that's not really brave and everything. And so my comedian friend started to get into it with this person, and he's like, "Oh, I just looked up your bio. You wrote on Velma. That explains it." And I was,
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's I had to do that myself.
mm-hmm,
There was a fucking can't remember her fucking name. It's some Chinese chick from LA, like legitimately Chinese,
uh-huh,
Chinese American. And she friended me out of fucking nowhere, but it's a comedian, so I was like, fuck it, you know, when it says comedian, and I see enough people that I'm mutual friends with,
yeah,
where like, seems legit, so I just hit confirm.
yeah,
And then I see some of the shit she's posting, and it's like a lot of Lily Singh, who I hate so much.
mm-hmm,
I think she's terrible. But then I was going through my feed one day, and I saw like the fifth ad for her from her, and I hit her and I realized she was a writer.
mm,
And then I also started hearing rumors about how that Lily Singh was just flat out ripping off bits,
really,
which means that her writers are probably ripping off shit from the internet
mm,
or they've seen. So I immediately blocked her. I was like, I don't want. I mean, granted, I don't have a lot. I just share memes and say stupid shit sometimes.
yeah,
I don't really nothing stealable, but it's a principle thing. Like, what if
yeah,
I do have a funny joke I put out there, and then I'm watching that horseshit show one day for some reason, and it pops up there?
mm-hmm.
I'll yeah, I'll be mad.
It's
I
like
mean,
Kevin James and that whole muffin top
yeah,
bit that he had that they ended up one of the writers from Seinfeld took and they
yeah,
put it in their show.
yeah,
Or Amy
yeah.
Schumer, that was the other one where she was taking like some of Kathleen Madigan's bits and a couple of other comedians' bits, or somebody on the writing staff was basically, you know.
Yeah, no. Joe Rogan tells stories about at the store. They would have to throw out the writers from A Living Color because they would sit there and just
Mm,
bitch from stand-up comics for the show.
yeah,
You know, and they had to ban them. They'd like, get the fuck out of here. You can't come here.
yeah,
Shit like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, make it, but like at the same time, like when it's not good, I gotta have my opinion about it.
sure,
You know, yeah, but like I get what you're saying, but like at the same time, I don't. The whole thing was terrible. I mean, I watched just a little bit of it. I'll
mm,
be honest with you, but I've also seen like She on Head does a really good fucking review of it where she does watch it, and it was like a thing where they made they made Fred like some fucking piece of shit white guy who's got a micro dick. Like, what the fuck is that about?
yeah. No, that like I said, that's they went really hard with like as far as like I won't call it identity politics. I'll call it identity humor or identity comedy. Maybe that's
Yeah,
hey, you know what? Trademark disjointed. Yeah, identity comedy. That's what I'm gonna call it. Where it's
yeah,
kind of like, oh, you know, this is like they were basically, yeah, kind of tropes. For the most part, like Daphne is supposed to be half Asian, right? Even though she looked exactly the same or is drawn exactly the same, but you know, but she's
yeah,
really good with karate and hand-to-hand combat, right? The only thing they didn't really, you know, Fred is a rich white guy with a small dick. Okay.
yeah,
The only thing they didn't really go with it, like, because they changed Shaggy to Norbert, or I forgot the character's name, and
yeah.
they made him like a nerd who is kind of, you know, people, I won't say beta, but
He's beta as fuck from what I was saying.
kind
Like,
of, but it's also like it's I wouldn't call it. I would say, yeah, he's not weak-willed, but he is when it comes to women. You know what I mean? Like, there's other things that he's willing to like. He's not like an irredeemable character that he's really annoying. He's actually one of the nicer, more pleasant characters of the show, to be quite honest with you. But the thing is that Shaggy was kind of a stoner. Well, they didn't make him a stoner. I don't know why. There's rumors saying like, yeah, because we can't have a black kid be like a burnout stoner. We need it. And so he's like the one redeemable character out of all of them, basically, because Velma isn't. You know?
no, I wasn't even mad. Hey, how you doing, hair?
Yeah.
I have the hairline of a stubbed out cigarette.
Right.
Him being black didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, the race
That
thing
did not.
that didn't bother me either, honestly. You know.
That never really bothered me. I kind of hated how they were trying to bait people into being bothered by it. That pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because you see on Facebook being like, "Does this bother you?" And you're like, "No." And then it's like the 17th time they've asked you in 3 days, and you're like, "Get that shit out of my fucking face, please."
Yeah.
You're driving me with it. And they're like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew you were fucking. You get all mad." And I'm like, "I'm mad because you're annoying the shit out of me."
Yeah.
With this fucking question over and over again.
Oh, did you see like there was a meme that's like, how many people do you think are going to be really pissed off when they found out Slash from Guns N' Roses is half black? I bet they're not going to be. You know, I'm like, first of all, we all knew that since fucking when Appetite for Destruction came out, and nobody gave a shit. That's how you know. That's how you know when you're really talented. When even a bunch of racist assholes were like, no, but he still fucking rocks. No, fuck it, he's cool.
Two things. One, I didn't even know that till you just told me that.
Oh, really?
I did not know that, and it doesn't do anything. I'm like, oh, cool. It's like hearing that he's left-handed too. Like I don't. Well, okay. I don't, you know, it is cool. Good for him. I hope it works out.
Yeah, but when somebody throws that out there, that's why I'm thinking like that fucking whole little arc or meme thing was probably made by a Russian bot. I'm just gonna think that because it makes me feel better that somebody wasn't stupid enough that lives in this country to be like, oh, this will get a bunch of retweets and stuff, and people finally like it. You know, fuck you, high school guidance counselor. I can't do something worthwhile, but. Yeah, it's just kind of like the whole entire thing is slightly offensive. It's kind of like it's a troll meme, right? To try to get engagement. Like I was talking to my friend, I think it was Derek Blanton, and it was comparing these two pictures of these two girls, one black, one white. Both of them were holding firearms, right? And one of them it says if you're offended by this, and it shows it looks like a Muslim girl. Right, but you're not offended by this, and it was a woman holding the Bible and a freaking rifle and everything with an American flag behind her, right? But this is the thing that was weird about the two pictures and stuff, and only people who actually are willing to talk to people who are really into the two-wave movement would know why that picture pissed them off, is because the white girl has her finger off of the trigger. The picture of the black girl, she has her finger on the trigger. And if you know anything about people who are really into the 2A advocates online, is that the first thing they do is they look at when anybody who's holding a gun. If they don't have any trigger discipline or their finger off the trigger, that means that they are not following one of the 5 basic rules of gun safety, which means they look at it like this person doesn't know what they're talking about, or they're disrespecting the whole point of having a firearm in the first place. You know, and because it'd be like, no, trigger discipline is super fucking important. That's the first thing. Keep your finger off the trigger unless you're willing, you know, you're ready to fire. And, but the thing is, he was like, I'm like, no, this is it. My friend didn't want to really listen to me on this. And he's like, no, it's because people are racist. I'm like, look at this. This is what a 2A person's going to look at. And that's what they're going to call out. And they want that engagement, so that way they're like, yeah, there is a problem with that picture. Like, yeah, it's because you're racist, you know, and then it goes into this whole other weird conversation and stuff. That's why I always say try not to have any emotional responses to anything online, guys. Unless it's positive, I say, you know. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to give this person a piece of my mind, nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean?
If you've got a simple point to make, here's advice. If you've just got to get it out, because sometimes you'll see something on Facebook, and you're like, I have to.
Yeah.
I know it's a trap. I know it's a fucking trap.
Right.
But I fucking have to. I have to. I'm not trying to own this person. I'm just trying to tell you I disagree, and here's why. And then I walk the fuck away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like opening a door, throwing a hand grenade into the room, and closing the door and walking away.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. And I'll just ask the question, and then my phone would blow up, and I just won't respond. Right. You know. But like at the same time, like I might go back and look and see what happens. And if you phrase it right and it's pretty precise and why, like if it wasn't for people being like, yo, this person's trigger discipline is dog shit. If it was just that, you know, that all the time, then, you know, that'd be fine. But the thing is what fucks it up, it's the 10% rule. You know what that is, right?
Yeah. Actually, no, please explain it.
The 10% rule is no matter how big your party is, bigger. If it's bigger than 10 people, if you have a party like that big, or 10% of that party is going to be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So if you have a huge group, 10% of those people are going to be fucking no-brained morons and say the dumbest shit imaginable. It doesn't matter what group it is. It happens all the fucking time. It's the law of 10. And you're going to get those guys who say the wild racist shit. Or you're going to get those guys who are afraid of if it's a Muslim girl. Because that's the same thing with a Muslim chick.
Yeah.
She's holding a Quran with the same, I think it's the AK with the Saudi Arabian flag behind her, and it's an American girl fucking holding a fucking AR-15 with a Bible. You know, it's the same fucking photo. It's just, you know,
but one of them, there was one of those things like, can you spot the differences in this video? You know, in like your shirt or on these pictures, even though they look the same, and you're trying to find the different. Like, it was that. Yeah, it's freaking weird. And the people I think who dismiss that and they'll be like, oh, that's not the reason. I'm like, you don't know. I'm like, how much do you know about that other community? Because different communities have different things that set them off, and that was one of them. You know, that's like.
But that's also the job. If we're gonna do this whole tribal shit, that's the job of that tribe to keep that part of them in check.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got a wild. Every part of this has got a wild side. Every part of it does. Right wingers got like the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh yeah.
And shit like that. They're the wild ones. The left's got like, for lack of a better term, just for argument's sake, Antifa. You know, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the alt-rights at the Proud Boys. All that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They all got their thing.
Both have been infiltrated by the FBI, and both, I think the FBI has tried to freaking destroy the Hornets nets, and you're like, you know what you guys ought to do? Make a bunch of Ren Fair weapons and try to fight the cops. You should do that. Or at least fight reporters. They're easier to beat up, you know.
Yeah, but what people got to understand is like you've got to be able to police them and keep them in check. And that will happen, but you'll get associated with them, and you've got to kick them out of the group. It's, who was it? It was like a Shoe on Head. That chick Shoe on Head on YouTube. I'm a big fan.
With it, but
she's kind of cool. She does some really cool videos.
Okay.
She used the fucking the analogy from, I think it was Mean Girls, where they won't let you sit at the table. They freak out. That's basically the point she's making. It's like, you can't sit with us. You're not allowed to sit with us. I'm not saying you can't be who you are. You can't sit with us. You're not in the group no more. And that's what some of these people got to do with their specific groups if they're going to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, the alt-right should get rid of, you know, all that stupid shit. So should the hard left. So should this. So should that.
Yeah.
I mean, just get, you know, because it's bringing you down. It's making you look bad.
Yeah.
But that's also hard because everyone has the, you know, the right to express themselves. So you're in this weird like catch-22 type of thing. But I don't know. But it's like you got to be able to be like, no, we don't believe that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or just flat out say, hey, I am not down with that. It's kind of like the John Lennon's song Revolution, you know, where everybody's like, yeah, it's pro-revolution. It's like, no, listen to what he's saying. You know, you say you want a revolution. Yeah, well, we all want to change the world, you know, but if you talk about destruction, then you can count me out, you know. So it's just like, I don't know. But here's another stupid thing that I thought of. The kind of, since I brought up the gun analogy. I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy on the Xbox, right? And as far as adventure games go, if you like The Legend of Zelda and those type of games, you would really, really dig this game. And if you read the books and are fans of the movies and stuff, you will really, really, really like this game because you finally get a chance to wander around Hogwarts and see different parts of the game that they've only alluded to or talked about, but you never actually got a chance to see even in the books or the movies. So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff if you're a fan of the Wizardry world. And it got a lot of hate from reviewers because of J.K. Rowling. And it's weird because even one point you meet this person doing some like some herbology work outside of Hogwarts and everything. And then this witch starts talking about her wife, you know, and like, okay, so it's a lesbian couple that, that are open, apparently back in the late 1800s, but actually would never happen, kids. But but maybe things were different in the Wizarding World, which I don't think they would, because if you read the books, you know that thing is very classist and very racist and xenophobic. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, but also like that's what pisses me off about nowadays, when they make these kind of movies and they're set in that time, and they try to like bring our shit into their world. I hate that. there wasn't
I
lesbians.
think you got to
back
be
then.
really, really. You got to be careful about how you do
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? If you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, then
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably not going to work very well. But if you're doing it because you're trying to make a point or something in the story, I'm like, all right, well, best of luck. Hopefully, it works. I'm not going to stop it from doing it. But here's a weird thing about it, right? I've had when you see like people from the UK talking about how crazy Americans are because of our love of guns, right? And by the way, this is comparing apples and oranges. I always think it was kind of funny because as I'm wandering, or playing this game, wandering around Hogwarts and stuff, and I'm like, they give a wand to a kid who is like 8 years old. A wand that has the ability to fucking murder the shit out of a lot of people if you know how to use it right. And I always thought
Yeah.
that was really, really strange. Where I'm like, huh, one of the most popular stories of the world on the whole planet is the Wizarding World and the story of Harry Potter. And in this story, all these kids are walking around with basically fucking magic guns hidden up their sleeve. You know what I mean? And it's like nobody thinks about like, well, yeah, we're trying to teach them how to use this responsibly. And I'm like, okay, you could do a lot.
It's
Like sometimes, well, like what are you gonna do against a bad wizard with a gun or a bad wizard with a wand? Well, a good wizard with a wand, And I'm like, yeah, it's stupid when it's guns, but if you think about it, like in the term of this magical world that doesn't actually exist, that everybody really, really put a lot of effort into, I thought it was kind of funny. Or like the difference between American superheroes and like a British superhero would be like Doctor Who,
yeah.
who doesn't use a gun and uses their brain. I'm like, yeah, but isn't that responsible for the death of millions upon millions of sentient beings all across the universe and time? And I'm like, that person's killed way more people than the Punisher has, strangely enough. But I don't know. Like I said, it's comparing apples and oranges. Would that be considered a straw man argument? Possibly. I think so. But I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. No, it's the equivalent of giving like the slide gun from Django Unchained,
Mm-hmm.
the one that Christoph does. It's equivalent to giving that to a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
The every kid's got a fucking slide pistol.
Right.
Like what the fuck?
Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I would just thought that was a weird thing because I'm like, oh, but I don't know. But yeah, those were some of that's some of the stupid shit that we talk about, fellas. Is what we're doing, and like I said, we're just talking. I do have an email address. I think it's wetalkingpod at Gmail. You could do that, guys, and then I have it because we didn't have any content until today, so I haven't really quite made the website. But I know we got we're talking.us, so I think that's where that one is. That's where we'll put a lot of info and stuff. If we do have shows up, we'll let everybody up know. Like if you're interested in seeing any of our stand up, whether it's me in Denver or Jake in Phoenix or wherever the hell we end up being, there's just fucking support the show, I guess, if you dig it, or not, even if you don't. So whatever.
Yeah, this is a pilot episode. Don't judge us right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Let us kind of get in there like fucking Velma.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give him more of a shot. You can't just go off of what people say on the internet. Because the whole series was kind of interesting. I will say this: the general whole story of a serial killer and everything. I'm like, yeah, it was kind of cool. It was interesting. But yeah, same thing with this show. You got to give us at least 6 episodes, and then figure out if we suck or not, or if we should be canceled. But so that was something that was interesting. Let's go back a little bit to the Marin special where he was talking about people like, yeah, I'm an anti-woke comedian, and he's kind of making fun of people who say that they're an anti-woke comedian. And he's like, yeah, I can't get any work because I'm not woke. And he's like, really? Is that the reason why? And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a funny bit because there are some people that think that they're not getting work because of their political views, when really I'm like, all right, how hard are you, who have you contacted this past month about trying to get on shows? Like, well, nobody. I'm like, yeah, that might be one of the reasons. I know that was one of the reasons why I wasn't getting booked. It's not because anybody had anything against me. It's because I wasn't actually trying to get work. It's not like people come to you and be like, we need you on this show, Dave. I mean, I would love it if they said that, but that's not how that works. And so he kind of goes on this bit about that, and I'm like, man, I mean, granted, okay, there's some people like Marin, who's somebody who has had an opposing point of view at different points of his career, like, you know, during the Bush W era, you know, and
Yeah.
he's like, okay, if I could still get work as a comedian talking a bunch of shit about George W. when there was a lot of people who were really for that guy, you know, then maybe it's because, you know, he was funny. It's not because of his, you know, he got through that version, I guess, of wokeness back in that era. So it's kind of like to him, like it's just people making an excuse. So, okay, he's got a legit reason. There's a lot of other comics that I have seen that are like, yeah, you know, it was mostly about Chappelle, right? And he's like, why
Yeah.
would that guy double down on something that's being so like it's so bad for his career and everything? And I'm like, well, the difference is that he would say something or has something to say that feels really strongly about, and you don't. You know what I mean? If you ever felt so strongly about a subject that you felt that you had to talk about it, but you were the only person with that point of view, you know, then you would understand why that freedom of speech and all that other stuff is so important. But for the most part, I see a lot of people who don't really have anything to say, you know, or yeah, they just basically don't have anything to say other than what the other 7 people around them have already said. You know what I mean? So that way they feel kind of comfortable or safe in having a strong opinion. So it's kind of a mean way to put it. Sorry, but if I'm going to be completely honest, a lot of people who are against provocative comedians don't have anything important to say. There you go. So I don't know. But yeah, I wish it'd be like, you know, like Marin, what was the last thing that he said that was, I mean, he says a lot of things that are really important or personal to him. But I'm like, when was the last time you had an opinion that was different than everybody else on the left? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. But I remember in an old special, Patton Oswalt, not to keep bringing him back in there, he was like, it was something about, it was George W. And he says this joke, and everybody kind of laughs. He's like, yeah, I don't care who I offended in a whole room full of people that I emailed. You know, like he kind of brought out the thing is he's like, yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not. It's not like I'm in a rally, you know, in a RNC rally in South Carolina right now saying this shit. He's kind of in the same spot.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that, but yeah, I think our show works better with a better name, and when we're not trying to help anybody but ourselves. I think it works really well.
I mean, it ran a course. In my opinion, it ran its course. It needed to be done.
Yeah,
So, and so I mean, it was fun. I like doing it. I'm
me
gonna get a
too.
better setup too. That's gonna help. Thank God.
Oh, I know.
I'm doing. Yeah. What's that?
I'm moving at the end of the month. We're going to Broomfield, and
Ooh.
the studio that I'll have set up there, like I'll have better internet connection and stuff. But I'm also going to put like the green screen back up, and like I have. It's basically the studio is going to be about twice the size of what this particular one is. You
Yeah.
know, so I can actually do a little bit more with it. And I'm probably also start putting up cooking videos again because I'll have a really nice kitchen that I can make look really, really nice. And actually, it's well lit in there where I can make a really, really good video instead of the kitchen where it looks like last time I tried it, one of my old cooking videos. I don't know if anybody would want to eat anything that I made just because how dirty the stove was. You know what I mean? So, uh,
Uh,
that
been
is what
there.
it is. So,
um. No. I'm also moving too. So I'm moving in April.
where are you guys moving
So
to, or what part of town? Is it still same part of town, or are you moving?
we're gonna try and stay in the same part of town. Me and my roommate, and then we're gonna sign a year lease, and then I think by that time my new job, the job I have right now,
Mhm.
will be moving to a new warehouse.
Right.
But it's gonna be near the airport.
Yeah.
Like basically, you'll know you just take 51
Hmm.
south until it ends and runs into 10
Yeah.
I-10. Then get on I-10 for like no shit like a half a mile
Yeah.
tops, and you get off on like some airport exit,
Hmm.
and then it's somewhere in that it's somewhere it's like university or something.
Okay.
University.
Yeah. So yeah, I know what you. Yeah, it's on the west side, closer to the university, and I was gonna say 32nd, but no. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about because I used to live on Indian School, like 16th and Indian School, and when I worked at the airport, that's how I had to go to the had to go to work every day. So it was the 51 off to the airport exit, and Which, by the way, if anybody lives in Phoenix and it's during rush hour and you don't mind driving at only 35 miles per hour, the skipping through the airport is an easy way to get from 24th Street, or no, what was it, Central Avenue, all the way to Tempe in less than 5 minutes. So, you know.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because you get to stay on the 202 and fight traffic all the way till you get to Tempe, or you go through the airport and you get out right on Priest. You know what I mean? And the 202, and you're like, hey, this was easy. I'm like, yeah. Now, if you want to get even further, you can go through this. You know, you learn a lot of cool things as a cabbie on how to get to different parts of towns and stuff. And sometimes you're just fucked, but other times, when it comes to the East Valley, there's a couple different ways you can go. But if you're like trying to go from Central Phoenix out to, I don't know, anything that's way out west, like in Avondale, like there's nothing, man. You're just stuck on the 10, and you're just stuck in traffic forever. And that's one thing I don't miss about Arizona, man, is the traffic during rush hour on the freeways and stuff. But
I have been lucky to where I've had jobs where I don't need to take the highway.
Right.
That's nice, and I want to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So when the next lease I sign is up, I'm gonna get my own place near my work.
Yeah.
And it was Mountain View, I think it was a part of town. My buddy told me to look into. But I'm not sure if that's, but I don't know. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we had one or two people that were watching us on YouTube. So we had one concurrent viewer. We had a couple different views. Average time that somebody was listening, I think was 27 minutes. So hey, that's not too bad. Granted, nobody was really chatting, but hey, we're gonna we'll put some clips up. And I don't know if
it's a pilot episode.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it is what it is. But thanks for everybody who was watching. Anybody who checked us out on Facebook, or we don't have a Facebook group up yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to make one. I think I'd just rather keep everything in through the YouTube page, which is We're Talking Pod. And come follow us there, because we're definitely going to need people for that. All right. For anybody who's watching this or watching it over the next day, if you're in the Denver area, I will be performing at Tandoori Grill, doing my feature set over at Billy Joe's Outhouse Comedy production of the Tandoori Grill. The show starts at 7:30. It's a free show. It's a bar show. Come in, catch the last part of happy hour, get yourself some appetizers and stuff. It's a really cool place, and you'll dig it. And then for folks who are Pueblo, I will be at the Blue Cactus Comedy Room this Saturday. So get your tickets through Eventbrite. Go check out their show page at. Actually, if you follow me on Facebook, you can see I've posted up the links there. So check that out. But those are the only shows that I got coming up. I don't think you don't have anything coming up, right, Jake?
No, just buy more deli meat. If you buy more deli meat, I get a raise.
There you go. Buy deli meat. We'll put up be funny, put an Amazon link for Boar's Head. Get it through the mail. It's gonna be great. But either way, let me know when, because I know it's kind of stop and start when it comes to the shows out there in Phoenix. But I'm starting to see some of my old friends get on shows a bit more, and it looks like they're paying and actually asking. They're not all bar shows and stuff. So I always keep my fingers crossed for you. Yeah. Phoenix needs comedy like hell, and
fine. Fine.
I think that's about it, guys. So thanks for tuning in to the show, and signing off for We're Talking Pod. I'm Dave Germain.
I'm Jake Hamill.
Yeah, y'all have a great week.
See you later.